Rồi, chuẩn bị chạy.
That's all it takes. That time.
That's going to be all tanks at 10-2-6.
Roger.
Bên kia có rồi, bên mình chưa có. Bên mình mấy con lăng quăng.
Clear vertical. Two active.
Roger.
Không, cái đó là cái thuyền của mấy người họ đi trên kia. Cái đó là cái thuyền thôi.
Nó cá kìa, cá rồi.
À. Ngồi ghế này hơi cao ha.
Cá đây nó
Oh.
Rails are going to wash.
Roger.
Bây giờ là nó xuống cái độ sâu là 9 feet rồi đó. 9 feet rồi à. Hồi nãy là mình đang ở độ là 1 feet. Mà nước bây giờ là xuống là 9 feet rồi đó.
100 feet.
Your sail is submerging, mast is going to follow. Switch underwater columns, have a good dive.
13 feet, 15 feet. Rồi xuống cái độ sâu là 15 feet rồi đó. 17 feet.
Okay, guys, can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Okay, great. We thought we are sinking. That's a good thing in a submarine, all right? Our pilots opened those vents and added water to our ballast, and it's going to work on achieving positive buoyancy for us. Let me orient you a little to the inside of the
28,
submarine.
30 feet rồi đó.
All right, anybody know what this side is
Độ
called?
sâu là 30
I'm
feet
waving my
rồi.
hand.
31 feet.
This is called the port side, okay? Anybody know what this side's called? Starboard, all right. I was going to say other side, but
feet.
they're way ahead of me. All right, good.
Hiện giờ là độ
Well, on
sâu
both
ở dưới đây
sides
là
of
40
this
feet rồi nha.
submarine, I'll be calling out port
45
side
feet.
and starboard side.
50 feet.
Things on either side. So just please listen for that. On our port side, we have a depth gauge up near me. In the back, we have one near our co-pilot Melinda over her
55
right
feet.
shoulder, another depth gauge. So feel free to take pictures of those during the dive.
Rồi xuống tới đáy biển rồi đó.
White bags. Those we call our aloha bags. If you're feeling queasy at any point
Xuống
in
đáy
your
biển rồi đó.
dive, please aloha into those bags. We don't want to share that
Như
kind
vậy
of
là
aloha.
65 feet.
All right.
65 feet
You'd be
xuống
really
dưới,
sure as well as we get down here right now. If you're
xuống
wearing
dưới
the
lòng đại
color
dương,
red,
65
you're
feet.
now probably purple or burgundy color. Kind of like I'm holding this crab here, right here. All right. It's kind of a
Rồi,
starts to lose
65
the
feet
color.
là
So
mình
we're starting
xuống
to lose
dưới
colors
đáy đại
as we
dương
go
này nè.
deeper here.
70
And our
feet.
pilot, we chose a good one today. Pilot is Tomo Rogers
70
today.
feet là hết rồi,
And
70
actually,
feet là
he
tới
holds
nơi
the
rồi,
world
xuống
record
đây
for
rồi.
the most submersibles in a passenger submarine, okay? So actually, you're part of the world record today. He's breaking the world record again by being our pilot today. We're going to listen to him now on the underwater telephone.
Cá như cái trường đồng hồ này.
Hiện giờ là 70 feet nha.
Atlanta service, this is Atlanta standing comms check on the underwater telephone. Roger that. Likewise, our ballast is set and our vents are secure. Okay, he was checking in on the
73
underwater
feet,
telephone.
75 feet.
We have no wires connecting us to the
100
surface.
luôn,
We only use a transducer that the scientists, similar telephone that the scientists use to whales and dolphins. Listen to whales and dolphins.
75
So
feet.
we'll be checking in with the surface on occasion on the underwater telephone. All right, looks like we found ourselves a reef here on the starboard side and port side, guys. Right away, we're looking at the reef. Now, I mentioned that color change down here. We lose those colors. This is actually a vibrant reef. It may look a little bit gray, brown, and dingy, but it is actually a vibrant reef. If we were to shine lights on that
Xuống
reef,
đây là cái gì?
it would look
Memo
like
hả?
those
Memo
National
hả? Cái gì đó?
Geographic pictures where you see the red, purple, and
Memo hả?
green of the coral. But right away, we're seeing a fish here on the starboard side, a schooling fish. Looks like we got him on our port side as well. That is the ta'ape, or blue line snapper. That schooling fish. big school there. Looks like a public school.
Memo,
Anybody know why
memo.
those fish school like that? Safety in numbers. Yeah, you only have to be faster than your friend in those schools. All right. So that's one thing. Also, as a school of fish like that, they look like a bigger animal altogether. Also, they like to draft off one another, like race cars do, or cyclists do, in bicycle races. They draft off one another in a school, and they can take rest breaks as they're swimming. Now, those taope fish are kind of interesting. They're actually not native here to Hawaii. Those blue striped snappers. They're from French Polynesia, where they grow to about 4 to 6 pounds. Now, do those look 4 to 6 pounds to you? No. So the Hawaii dropped those in the water off of Oahu in the 1950s. They thought they were going to be a food source for the burgeoning population of Hawaii. Unfortunately, they didn't do the research. We do have subtropical waters here, and they don't grow as large as they do in the tropical waters of French Polynesia. So they didn't grow as big as they had hoped, and they only grow here about a pound at most. In fact, there's a joke that says it takes 2 taope to make 1 taco.
Ở dưới này mà nó làm giống như là trong cái hồ
So
cá
might
mình
see
chơi
those
đó.
again as a school, but we're also seeing some
Cái này
other
là
fish
rêu
there
luôn.
that
Rêu ở
kind
ngoài
of
dưới đây
similar,
đại dương.
silvery fish, also yellow
Như
and a
là
fork
100
tail.
feet.
That is our goat fish,
100
or
feet từ cái mặt
owama
nước
in
xuống dưới đáy.
Hawaii. And that has little barbels on its mouth that it digs down in the sand with. I've seen some also on our port side here, those owama. Now, they're called owama when they're about this size. As they get bigger, they lose their yellow color and they become all silver, and they have a black dot on the side. Then it becomes veke in Hawaiian, which means opening. Now, the ancient Hawaiians actually would consume that older goatfish, consume the brain of it, and it would cause hallucinogenic properties, and they'd go on what they call a mind opening ceremony. So that's why it's called veke, or opening, with those larger goatfish. Starboard side, just seen a small school of those goatfish on the starboard side there. Another one here. And some tape again on the starboard side.
Cái side bên kia nó
Now, yellow is one of those colors we don't lose down here, or fluorescent colors. So if you're in fluorescent orange, fluorescent yellow, you're still seeing that here down here. Another bright yellow fish you might see out here is the yellow ting. That is what's called lau impala in Hawaiian. It's about the size of your palm, all yellow fish. Now that was, if you know the movie Finding Nemo, seen it both on the port and starboard side, that was Bubbles in the aquarium. It was the one that liked staring at the bubbles coming out of the pirate chest. Treasure chest. Now, those were so popular after that movie Finding Nemo, they became big in the saltwater aquarium trade. In fact, so much so, they started pulling them off the reefs here in Kona and selling those on the aquarium trade. Well, so much so that they depleted the numbers of the yellow ting on the reef. And eventually, the state of Hawaii woke up to that, and they banned taking off the yellow ting off the reef. And the numbers have slowly come back here of those yellow tings. In fact, it's about $40,000 per fish, a fine, if you were to take those off the reef now. But in fact, Kona used to be called the Gold Coast. There were so many of those yellow tings in the water here that when the waves broke, they would look like golden waves crashing on the reef. And that yellow color also is a color of royalty in Hawaiians, among the Hawaiians. So anything yellow was called kapu. You couldn't eat it, touch it, or do anything to anything yellow because it was reserved for the royalty or the elite. All right, you might see on our starboard side here these large oval-shaped fish coming up to our viewports. Maybe see them on the port side as well. Those are poalu in Hawaiian. And those are what we call our yellow-finned surgeon fish. And they like to come up to our submarine almost like an ice cream truck because they eat algae off of it. So they know we come around every day, and they're kind of just come up to our viewports and are eating off algae off the side of it. Now they're called surgeon fish because they have a sharp fin at the back of their body. like sharp as a surgeon's scalpel. I was also seeing an Oreo cookie fish out there. Anybody guess which one the Oreo cookie fish is? It's silvery white in the middle, almost looks like an opened up Oreo cookie. And that's also called Domino Damsel or Hawaiian Bacillus. Seeing some of those on the port side. I think I saw a few on the starboard as well. Now those are known as the chihuahuas of the sea. Divers and snorkelers have reported that if you get close to their territory, they start barking and yipping at you like a little chihuahua. In fact, they're so territorial that if you get even closer, divers have said that they try to pull out arm and leg hairs. But they're more bark than bite, those Oreo cookie fish. I've seen a few on our starboard side, as well as a millet seed butterfly fish. That's the all yellow fish with the black dot on its back fin. Now, butterfly fish are a common fish down here. Seeing a lot of millet seed there on the starboard side. I will point out if I do see some on the port side. But butterfly fish are a pair bonding species, so they often travel in pairs. In fact, they're called the Romeo and Juliets of the sea. If one happens to die, the other will actually stop eating and sleeping until it dies as well. So they're bonded for life. And there's about 35 different species here in Hawaii of butterfly fish. Yeah, a lot more of those Oreo cookie fish on the starboard side. Also seeing some lavender ting on the port and starboard side. Lavender ting look like a giant watermelon seed. They're all black down here, but on the surface they're colorful lavender. Now this coral reef, there's different types of coral. It looks exactly how they're described. We have finger coral. There's long, thin coral reaching up to the surface. Mound coral looks like lumpy mashed potatoes. And plate coral looks like layers of coral or an opened up flower. And you might spot cauliflower coral as well. Almost looks like a human brain. Now this coral, again, is completely healthy. It grows about 1 inch every 4 years, however. Estimates that this reef here is about 18,000 years old. And that's actually fairly young. The Great Barrier Reef is about 300,000 years old. On our starboard side, kind of towards the front of the sub, there's a male parrotfish. That's that teal rainbowy color fish. Some good visibility out here today. Pilots maneuvering us right over the coral. Also seeing a pink-tailed triggerfish there on the starboard side. Has flowing fins on the top and bottom with a whitish tail that's actually pink on the surface. Alright, if you look out there in the distance in the coral, there's a couple long-nosed butterfly fish. If you look for the long skinny nose, all yellow body, black mask, long white nose. That is the Lau Wili Wili Nuku Nuku Oi Oi in Hawaiian. That is a butterfly fish. Also seen ornate butterfly fish on our port side. All silverfish, yellow around it, orange diagonal stripes. Good example of plate coral on our port side there, coming along the viewports. Very good example of plate coral. Alright, on our starboard side there, see that beige colored fish? Looks almost like a zebra. That is actually a peacock grouper. That's called Roy in Hawaiian. That is not native to here. And a Roy actually contained a neurotoxin called ciguatera. So you can't fish for that or consume that. That neurotoxin will make boiling water feel freezing cold water feel boiling hot. And that neurotoxin, if you were to consume enough of that, can cause paralysis and death. So the fishermen out here do something called a Roy roundup. They try to fish as many of those fish off the reef as possible. Also on our port side, more Oreo cookie fish, yellow ting, and some millet seed butterfly fish floating out there. That's the all yellow fish with the black dot on the back of it. Those millet seed butterfly fish It's kind of a little bit of a camouflage for them. That black dot almost looks like an eye. Kind of confuses predators there. Also some lavender tang out there in the watercolor. So please look down the viewport, out and up. You never know what you might see at different areas of the watercolor. Alright, we've seen a Durgeon triggerfish on our starboard side. That's the all black fish with the floating fins on top and bottom.
Yes. Yeah, that's a tire.
Now triggerfish are related to the statefish. Anybody know the name of our statefish in Hawaiian? Homo homo nuku nuku hapua.
Ồ, nhiều lắm.
That's the reef or lagoon triggerfish. They're not found here at this depth. They're found in shallower waters. But there's relatives down here, both the pink-tailed triggerfish and that Durgeon triggerfish. All black triggerfish. Triggerfish are nest builders. They build a little nest in the sand, and they sleep in that at night. And they use a special trigger fin that anchors them in place while they're sleeping.
Có cái thuyền là thuyền nó chìm
Alright,
nó
looks
nằm
like
về
we're passing on our port side now. We're coming up on our first shipwreck. This is the Predator. Don't worry, starboard side. We're going to flip around and do a pass on the starboard side. Port just laughed harder at my jokes.
Trong ba lô nằm coi kìa, bộ
So
máy
this
nằm
is
ở
the
trong
Predator.
Này
It
là
sank
cái bộ
here
máy
in
nè.
1996.
Tàu đánh cá, tàu gì đây?
And it was, it's similar to Higgins-style landing craft that they used in D-Day. In fact, it has a landing ramp at the front of it. It was recently partially attached to the front of this Predator, but we had a huge storm on last Monday, a week ago Monday, and it could knock the rest of the ramp down off the front of it. But this particular ship was purchased at an auction by an ex-Navy SEAL who wanted to start a shark cage diving business in Kailua Kona. You could say his plans didn't get quite up off the ground. So what he would plan to do was to chum the waters in Kailua Bay with fish guts and attract in large predatory sharks from deeper waters. Well, this word got around that he was planning to do this, and quite a few people weren't too happy with that. Not only is Kailua Bay highly recreational, lots of swimmers, paddlers, all those different types of things. They didn't really want those dangerous sharks coming into the waters where people are swimming and all those kind of things. So supposedly, the story goes that a local person drilled holes into the Predator, and it started to sink. Well, the captain or the owner of the ship didn't do anything about it. He wanted to collect the insurance money, but he was actually fined for negligence for not stopping the sinking of his ship. And it was left down here because it was too cost prohibitive to bring up off the ground. Now it's stayed down here and become an excellent example of an artificial reef. Many fish will live their whole lives here or in and around this ship and use it as protection. That coral has actually started to grow on it as well. Now we do get the shark, speaking of sharks, we do get the shark question. Those sharks, the big sharks, are out in deeper waters and usually swimming pretty fast through the water. They have to keep moving at all times to keep that oxygen flowing over their gills. So we don't see the big sharks out here. We might see an occasional sandbar shark, white-tip reef shark, but they're not on the payroll, so no guarantees we will see them while we're out here, but it's good to keep an eye out for them. All right, we're lining up now to do a starboard side pass on the Predator. Seeing some lavender tang out there in the water column. Those lavender tang, and later in the afternoon, they spawn their eggs. And you might see fish following them around, picking off those eggs for food. You can see where that landing ramp has fallen off completely, the front of this vessel. You might also see some spiky balls on the side of this shipwreck. Those are what we call the long-spined sea urchin, or vana in Hawaiian. Now you don't want to step on these, they're very painful. They have a slightly venomous spines, and they break apart inside your skin, almost like porcelain. It's very difficult to take out with a tweezer. I speak from experience. But those sea urchins, oh, got a unicorn fish right underneath the crane there.
Whoa, that's the unicorn.
Has that horn on its head like a unicorn. Also seeing, I think I saw earlier, oh yeah, raccoon butterfly fish there. They like to hang out there right at the stern. That's the yellow and black fish with the white and black mask on it, just like a raccoon. That rope hanging there from the stern is a special rope that gives our pilot, they call it the telltale. It gives our pilot which way the current is going. So that's how he adjusts the submarine, what paths we're going to do, according to how the current is flowing. Alright, so now we're getting back into some reef as we pass the predator there. Any questions so far? Alright, anybody see the Moorish idol here on the port side? That's the bumblebee-like fish, shaped like a triangle. It's got a long flowing fin on the top. Look down on the port side. Moorish idol was the character Gil in the movie Finding Nemo. He was the intelligent one trying to figure out a way to escape the aquarium. Now, scientists have, marine biologists and fish specialists know that actually is quite accurate. It is one of the most intelligent fish down here, the Moorish idol. They said it can memorize parts of the reef of where to hide within seconds of swimming by it. Right, some more of those millet sea butterfly fish kind of floating out there in the water column on our port side. Very beautiful fish. Also some more yellow tang. Now if there is some sunlight on the reefs a little bit, you can kind of see a little bit of the colorization if the sun hits it just right. But does anybody know what coral is? Is it a plant, mineral, or animal? If you said any of those, you're absolutely right. It's actually all three. So it has that mineral content to it, that hard, stony outside. Inside is a polyp or animal. And it has algae a part of it as well growing on it. It has to keep a perfect balance of that algae to it. So the fish are helping this reef out by eating the algae off of it and keeping that all in balance. Coral is very sensitive to temperature changes, saltwater changes, sunlight changes, also any damage to the reef. It takes a long time for it to recover. In fact, there was a mega yacht that dumped its anchor on some of the reef here about a year ago and actually paid a fine for doing that. It's about $300,000 for damaging the reef. Because it takes so long to grow. Now you see all kinds of debris down here. Sometimes too on our starboard side there, you're seeing some metal debris. You might see a tire here and there. If it's not completely toxic to the environment, it'll be left down here. In fact, it becomes a home for fish right away. Also seeing a parrotfish there on our port side. Can't tell from here if it's a male or a female. Male are actually teal rainbowy color parrotfish, and they have like a beak like a parrot and white bulgy eyes. Oh, there was a turtle, guys? Oh wow, that is actually a rare occurrence to see a turtle down here. So our green sea turtles are usually in shallower waters or up at the beach. That is really cool that you got a glimpse of it. There's some unicorn fish there on the starboard side. Yeah, sea turtles are usually in shallower water or at the beach. They tend not to come out here because they face predators more out in the open ocean.
85 feet.
Now, speaking of that parrotfish, does anybody know where this white sand comes from? Actually, it comes, indirectly, actually does come from the coral, but actually comes, 90% of this white sand comes from the parrotfish. The parrotfish actually consume coral, and they digest it, and they poop it out as white sand, believe it or not. So most of these beautiful white beaches here in the Hawaiian Islands are parrotfish poop. Other 5% is erosion, and another 5% is our Halimina seagrass, which I'll point out later. We'll see later on in the dive.
Cái đó là cái neo á, cái neo do cái thuyền á.
Alright, see the anchor now on our port side. That's actually our anchor. It's normally attached to our mooring, and where we dock moor up our boat during dives. It's a 5,000-pound anchor and a 5,000-pound chain.
Cái cục đó là coi như là 5.000 tấn, cái sợi dây xích 5.000 tấn là hai cục đó tổng cộng là 10.000 đó. Thì mỗi lần thuyền mà nó đậu lại là nó neo, nhưng mà như cái này là nó thành cái di tích luôn rồi, nằm im luôn rồi, xuống là nằm im dưới đó luôn rồi.
Now we're getting close to 90 feet now, and you may notice that we're starting to lose some of the coral. Now, photosynthesis is really important in the life of coral. How's that algae growing part of it? So, as we get deeper past 80, 90 feet, we're losing more and more sunlight. So, coral actually it's harder for it to grow down here. Okay, so we're transitioning more now to what we call sandy bottom zone of the ocean. And it's not devoid without life, it's just well hidden out here in the sand. Really important to be hidden, concealed, or camouflaged here in the sandy bottom. In fact, anybody see those little pyramid-like things coming out of the sand look like miniature gnome hats? Yeah, those are actually sea sponges. So, not square like SpongeBob, sorry, but those are sea sponges and buried most of its body in the sand. You may also see out here a sea cucumber. They're long sea slug. You can see one there on the port side.
Wow. Dây thừng á, cái dây để mà
Now, this
nó
is
neo
primary
cái
for
đầu á.
octopus as well. But if you know anything about octopus, they're very good masters of disguise. They're very good at camouflaging and concealing themselves out here as well. Now we're seeing both sides now, Halimina seagrass. I mentioned that 5% of sand comes from that. You might see little white pieces of calcium carbonate off its off of it, coming off of it. This is actually a freshwater seagrass that's adapted to live in this saltwater environment. In fact, it is watered by the mountain above Kailua Kona. Water comes down through underwater aquifers or under the ground, and it waters this here with fresh water. This Halimina seagrass, both port and starboard. So we're about almost 100 feet now here, deep. And you're about part of the 1% of the world's population that's been this deep in the ocean. Also less percentage than that's ever been this deep in a passenger submarine. So you're now officially submariners. Now those parrotfish are interesting fish as well. Actually, none of them are born male. In fact, the male travels with a harem of female parrotfish. And if the male parrotfish dies, the dominant female in the group will actually become male parrotfish. I've seen some unicorn fish on our port side, as well as the moon. Now, all silverfish with a large eye, that's called the grand eye emperor. Now that Grand-eyed Emperor
Trời, cái thằng này rất lâu rồi.
has such a large eye, it can actually spot fishing line. It's very difficult to catch, but it's prized possession to catch. It tastes like lobster. Alright, we're coming up on our second shipwreck already. This is the Angia on the port side.
Ooh, look at that.
Keep an eye out here. Lots of life here right now. Lots of fish out, guys. Oreo cookie fish, triggerfish, unicorn fish, goat fish, yellow tang. Looks like there's a party here, guys.
Yeah, to the shark.
Oh, white tip reef shark just came out of the ship there on our port
Cá
side.
mập kìa.
So that's a white tip reef shark. They're non-aggressive species of shark. Pretty much like a house cat.
Nhiều cá phải không?
But they eat small
Cá mập
fish
kìa,
and
cá mập kìa.
crustaceans.
Đó.
Cái mập.
So don't worry, starboard side. We are going to come back around. That white tip reef shark is not aggressive. You would actually have to probably put your hand inside its mouth to let it bite you. And the large silverfish are called alua, or giant trevally. Now that white tip reef shark is sometimes bullied by those alua or giant trevally. Those giant trevally are predatory fish down here, and they'll try to run into that white tip reef shark and scare it away. But that white tip reef shark sometimes hides inside the sailing vessel. We won't see it, but so you got a good chance to see it today. Now this ship here sunk here in 1986. A couple from Alaska, so this was their retirement plan to sail down here to KOA and live aboard their vessel. Well, the husband went back to Alaska and the wife stayed back. She discovered a termite problem on board and decided that, or heard that you could smoke them out. Well, she lit a boat flare on fire and tried to smoke out the termites. Well, unfortunately, it lit her galley or kitchen on fire as well and caused an explosion. Well, she was able to jump overboard and swim to a nearby dinner cruise,
Nó thấy mình nó kêu mình
where
nó là tao ý
she
cho mày
promptly
thôi.
helped herself to the liquor cabinet and took off all her wet clothes. Well, no one knew if she survived or not. There was a huge fire and explosion.
Khủng
But the
khiếp luôn
next
á.
morning, she was
To
found
lắm á.
asleep on board the nearby vessel she had swum to, wearing nothing but a smile. Now it's called the Naked Lady. And you talk to any scuba dive shop in town, take me to the Naked Lady, they'll take you out here for a scuba dive. You can see on this vessel how the middle of it's kind of bowed out from that explosion. Alright, we're going to do our starboard side pass. Again, keep an eye out on both sides. You never know what you might see passing by. We really missed seeing that turtle, but some of you saw it. That was a good one. Good eyes, guys. These fish coming by on the starboard are sleek unicorn fish. Alright, now we're coming up on the starboard side on the Angia or Lady. Lots of life, lots of fish out here today. Oh, got a blue coming by the viewport there. That is the Grand-eyed Emperor. If you look inside its mouth, it has like human-like teeth.
105 feet rồi. Sát luôn. Xuống dưới sát luôn cát luôn. Ồ, đụng đất luôn rồi.
Blue unicorn fish here
Ừ.
look like
Là
the fish you
105
first drew in school. They're called drawfish as well.
Ngay cái nơi chỗ này là độ sâu
Also,
là
the unicorn fish
105
out
feet
there
nha.
in the middle there with the
Đấy,
horns out. Very good
cái
visibility
tàu ngầm này
today.
á là nó đụng
Seeing
cát luôn
lots
rồi
of
đó.
fish.
Đụng cát luôn rồi nè. 105 feet. 105 feet là đụng cát luôn rồi đó. Còn cái chỗ nào nữa sâu hơn thì chưa biết, nhưng mà hiện giờ cái chỗ này là đang cái sâu nhất là
Unicorn
150
fish there. There's a moo hanging out at the bottom there, the stern of the ship.
Đeo con gì thế này nè.
Cá.
Yeah, lots of life out here. A lot of these fish will keep a lot of their life out
Chạy
here.
1 tiếng đồng hồ rồi á.
To venture at this depth out is
Giờ là
more vulnerable to predators.
Tức là đi vậy là tiếng đồng hồ rồi đó.
Nhắm nữa mới là tiếng hồ. Chắc là cái sự tiếng rồi không?
Tiếng đồng hồ đó. Giờ là
If you're seeing the bluefin trevally as well, they kind of use our submarine like a Trojan horse. They'll actually hide underneath them and dart out at fish. And they use their forehead kind of like a battering ram. They'll disable some fish and then be able to attack them. And they actually hunt in packs like wolves. Now in just a second here, our pilot Tomo Rogers is actually going to set us down on the bottom. We have actual skids on the bottom of this submarine that, like a helicopter, and it doesn't do any damage to the sandy bottom here. It gets us at a deep point of our dive.
Nó xuống với cát luôn rồi, đụng cát luôn rồi. Đụng với cát luôn, chơi với cát
So
luôn.
this is going to be the deepest part of our dive today.
Sâu nhất rồi đó. Lên liền.
And our pilot is setting up a bubble of air. We didn't spring a leak, okay guys? He set up a bubble of air to tell the surface where we are. In a second here, we'll check in with him on the underwater telephone.
Nè. Bây giờ bắt đầu nổi lên lại nè. Đó. Bây giờ bắt đầu thả nước ra để lên.
Atlanta surface, Atlantis 10. Air's on the way. We're coming up from 105 offshore. The lady request heading and clearance.
Bây giờ bắt đầu là lên. Sát xuống dưới là
Roger
cát.
090.
Đó, bây giờ bắt đầu là nó xả nước ra để mà tàu nó nổi lên lại nè, 85 feet lại nè.
Okay, so he's checking with the surface. We're setting that bubble up to mark where we are on the underwater. They'll clear the area for us, and then he'll start filling our ballast with air so we can ascend. And then that'll be the quickest part of our dive here.
Giờ là hết thấy rồi, giờ là sắp lắp ra rồi. Chỉ còn cái nước không thôi.
Switching our side film ballast. Here we come.
All right, we are cleared to ascend. Keep an eye out for bubbles as we pass up. Pass up as we're going up. We'll actually pass the bubbles as we're heading up.
Sáng cái rõ quá.
Giờ đang lên mặt nước này nên là nó sáng lên 60 feet rồi.
Đây là thấy gì nhiều nữa.
Giờ nó đang xả nè, nó đang xả ra để nó lên nè.
Ủa sao nước ra?
Thì nó bơm nước vô để cho nó đi xuống đáy. Bây giờ nó phải xả nước ra đó, con bóng nè. Đó. Giờ nó xả tiếng ra là con bóng nè. Lên tầm 23, 21 feet lên tới mặt nước rồi nè.
Cover film check.
Loud clear call 5.
Roger, loud and clear, bro.
Lên tới mặt nước rồi. Đây. Tức là đi 1 tiếng đồng
Thank
hồ
you
đó.
to our pilot, Tomo Rogers, for getting us to the top.
Thank you. Bây giờ là còn 1 feet. Tức là mình đi xuống cái đó là 1 feet.
5, clearing hatches, rest your turns. On final.
Thì nó phải bơm nước vô để cho cái tàu nó chìm xuống. Rồi nó tùy theo cái trọng lượng của nó mà tàu lên tàu xuống. Bây giờ là nó lên lại nó phải xả hết ra lại. Đó, cái xả nó clear ra hết. Rồi bây giờ là mình đang nổi trên mặt nước rồi đó, đang ở bên bên.
Không thấy gì nữa đâu, không thấy gì nữa.
Giờ là thấy nước thôi, chỗ này là nước thôi nè. Đó, mặt nước trên kia kìa.
Nó không có gì đâu.
Thấy không? Đó, thấy mặt nước không? Rồi bây giờ tàu kia là nó tới để mà mình đi qua đó. Mình đi qua cái tàu đó nó chở vào đó đất liền lại.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate that. And listen, if you enjoyed
Đó,
this trip,
giờ cái tàu đó nó
I
chở
hope you did.
mình vô đất liền
Don't
lại nè.
forget to take care of Ethan on the way out. He's the guy that does all the hard work.
Rồi xong, tiếng đồng hồ.
Cái là cô sẽ cười đâu.
Rồi bắt đầu lại cầu thang xuống. Đó, anh leo lên. Rồi đi lên này em đeo cái đó vô rồi cái giữ vô trong đấy, hai cái tay đó bước lên. Đưa cái chai nước vào bỏ trong đây. Nước chảy, mở ra nước chảy.
Sailors on, full port tiller, stern 25.
Mở ra nước chảy. Đó, đây là tàu ngầm đó, vừa nó mở ra nước nó chảy xuống rồi.
Đóng này, nó đóng lại đúng không?
Nó đóng lại đó, rồi giờ nó mở ra là nước nó chảy.
Looks like we made it to Maui, guys. All right.
Đó, bên kia có cổng lên, bên này cổng lên, bên kia cổng lên.
Okay, guys. Port side, you're going to come towards me. Starboard side, you're going to go to the back. If you're sitting on a white compartment, you can go out the hatch closer to you.
Hướng này là bạn. Xong rồi hướng này. Đưa đi đây.
He says if you're closer, we can go, but these guys decide.
That is GoPro. You go this way.
No.
Mr. GoPro.
He said if you're closer to this, you take the First he said,
Nào, mình đi hướng này. Mình đi hướng này.
Well,
This is this way.
you came in.
Auntie, you have to go this side.
you all have to go this side.
À, nhiều chuyện mày.
Hello. Wow, what you want?
Độ nhiều chuyện. Mình đi hướng này. Thì nó đi ngược á mà.
The sharks no longer get on the surface. Not comfy. It's so something on the water. Not comfy.
Cái này là giờ lên trên mặt nước rồi cho nên người mình nó chao đảo. Không, lên mặt nước rồi là người mình nó chao đảo.
I'm already causing that. I only brag on that.
Chắc con đi vào cho nó hai bên đều chắc á.
Hả?
Chắc con đi vào cho nó đều nước.
À. Ồ, chóng mặt không?
Thế là có mặt chắc nó đúng rồi.
Này chào đảo chóng mặt lắm. Thank you. Leo lên thì dễ thôi, nước không à. Dạ. Dạ. Thank you.
Watch your toes down below.
Go ahead. Rồi, xong một buổi. Giờ trở về lại đất liền.
Đúng rồi. Lên trên nó thấy gì hết.